Welcome to Beyond the Beacon with Bishop Kevin Sweeney, a podcast of the Diocese of Paterson. I'm Jay Agnish, Communications Director for the Diocese and editor of the Beacon newspaper. And with me is Bishop Kevin Sweeney calling in from Lisbon, Portugal for a special episode. Bishop, how you doing?
Hello, Jay. Hello, everyone in Paterson. Greetings from Lisbon. I'm doing very well. Thanks be to God, and thank you for asking.
Oh, that's great. I've been enjoying your posts on Instagram and following along, and you've been doing like so many different things, so many activities and destinations you've been to. Why don't you maybe just let us know where you are right now, and then we'll maybe rewind and maybe tell us when the trip started and what kind of what's going on.
So thanks. I'm currently in the hotel in Lisbon, so we're 5 hours ahead of New Jersey. I think it's around 8 o'clock your time, and it's 1 o'clock here. And so I just did a second, what we call catechetical sessions. The program for World Youth Day, I think, has been established now for a couple of decades, if not more, in that the 3 days leading up to the vigil on Saturday night and the mass, closing mass on Sunday with the Holy Father, there are catechetical sessions. I remember, I'm saying it was even 30 years ago in Denver when I was there. I remember a highlight was the catechetical sessions that when I was asked to lead a catechetical session leading up to, which I did yesterday.
Yeah.
It struck me that I remember 30 years ago being a seminarian and really being inspired by the bishops who spoke. I can still remember the bishops who spoke at those catechetical sessions. There was great music as there was today and in these days. And Pope Francis has asked that the catechetical sessions be done in kind of a synodal way where there's teams actually of young people leading and organizing the session. And then there's participation by different of the pilgrims, the young people, and then the bishop kind of listens to that and then gives a response and then some catechesis. So I was happy to do that yesterday, and I accompanied actually the Bishop of Honolulu, Hawaii, invited me to go with him today to, there's been a need for Spanish-speaking bishops because there's certainly a large contingent from Spain. Yesterday I was with, there was a more mixed group from Argentina and Mexico and led by a team from Paraguay. Today it was almost all pilgrims from Spain, from different parts of Spain, but so really, really wonderful.
Okay, so they've discovered that you can speak Spanish, so now you're being put to use. So these are the Rise Up encounters, I guess they're called. Right?
That's right, levántate, as we say in Spanish. Yes, awesome. Rise up. And so I've been a little separated from our diocesan group for the last couple of days because they're at a different hotel and they're attending catechetical sessions in English. But I hope to be with them tomorrow, and maybe I'll just go back to the beginning. In that it was wonderful to arrive in Fátima. Arrive in Lisbon we left Friday afternoon.
You flew into Lisbon?
And we flew into Lisbon and got on a bus. And we stopped at a place of a Eucharistic Miracle from the 1200s. You'll have to check on the name of that. Santarém, I think. And then that was about a half an hour outside the airport or so, 40 minutes. That we did a rest stop. And then made it to Fátima, and we're there Saturday evening, Sunday, and Monday. And one of the things in preparation, I did a little reading on, as I mentioned in the column, that on Fátima, and the message is Fátima, the message of our Blessed Mother to the 3 children, and really to all of us up till today, and all of conversion and prayer. And it was in reading about Fátima and the message that I invited many to join us spiritually, as I know many are joining us in prayer. And it's been a good experience for me because, and with the group at Fátima, at Mass, and the Rosary, we've been praying for those who are praying for us and asking our prayers, at home there in the diocese. So that's really helped.
Yeah, it's so awesome that we can pray for you and know that you're praying for us, and we're also journeying with you in a sense, and we can see what's happening even on your Instagram. And we had a couple of your dispatches from Portugal in the Beacon this week.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm looking through Instagram as we talk, and that candlelight vigil looked pretty amazing from Fátima.
Oh, yes. I didn't make it the first night, I think, because of jet lag, although many of our young people did, and many of our leaders as well. And, that's something also to mention that I'm realizing, maybe two things. The organization, they must have been preparing here in Lisbon for literally years. And it says something beautiful about the church. There's the parish I was in yesterday. They're hosting 2,000 pilgrims between a couple of parish buildings and families, and all the volunteers, thousands of them. They all wear yellow shirts. They're courteous. They're upbeat, and they're from probably mid-teens to young adults, and it's just such a beautiful experience of the church. And the Portuguese people, as one of them said today, they're happy to receive people in their country and here in Lisbon in the city, but also in our own group and getting to know some of the other groups, those who helped the young people to get here, whether it be financial contributions, parents, parishes, and then the adult chaperones that accompany the young people, wouldn't happen without them. And Jonathan Camiola is doing a great job leading our group, and I'm happy that we have two of our seminarians, our two transitional deacons, that are having this great opportunity to interact with some of our young people. And we're traveling with our neighboring diocese of Metuchen, and so we have each of about 40 or so, so it's a group of 82 buses, and there's some priests from the Diocese of Metuchen. Father Stefan Las, the pastor of Holy Rosary in Passaic, is with our group, and so just to be aware and have that gratitude for all those who are making this experience possible for our young people.
What's the vibe like? What's the energy like?
Oh, it's it's been throughout, and it struck me especially last night when the USCCB hosted a holy hour, really for vocations and for all the United States pilgrims. And Bishop Barron spoke before the holy hour, and there was great music, and the kids, thousands of kids, were jumping and chanting and singing. Each of the bishops introduced themselves, and when they heard their diocese or their state, there was a great roar, and that energy that's going to be amongst young people, even though they're tired, even though they've been at it for a few days now. But the Blessed Sacrament was exposed, and the park went silent. And that's, yes, there's a vibe of celebration and a good time, but there are also young people of faith, and I put it in my post last night that it gives me confidence for the Catholic Church in the United States and the Catholic Church all over the world that there are these young people who are really taking their faith seriously and want to be in the presence of Jesus in prayer. And it is really, really inspiring. And a religious sister, a Dominican, I have to get her name, gave such a beautiful witness talk, and she was young herself, and you could just tell how she was connecting with the kids, as did Bishop Barron. And so there's a great upbeat vibe, but there's also a vibe of faith and prayer, and the young people opening their heart to the Lord. And I remember 30 years ago when I was 23 and first year of theology in Denver, for me it was really the first time to experience the universal church, the Catholicity, of the church, because it was everybody together with the Holy Father, and it's certainly the case here.
Now, this is your third World Youth Day?
Actually, my fourth. So my first was as a seminarian, and then I attended Cologne in Germany and Sydney. I always forget which was in 2005 and which was in 2008, but I think Cologne was 2005 and Sydney 2008. But when I was vocation director in the Diocese of Brooklyn, Bishop DeMarzo, Brooklyn for many years has had a large group. So I think they have 300 here this time. And Bishop DeMarzo felt it was important to have seminarians travel with the young people. And as vocation director, I kind of accompanied the seminarians. And so that was a blessing in Cologne and in Sydney. So this is number 4.
Okay, so World Youth Day is kind of a misnomer. It's certainly more than one day.
Yes, and they use the word in Spanish, Jornada, journey, that it's the World Youth Journey. Maybe that's a title, but right. Yes, it's always at least from the arrival of the Pope on Tuesday or Wednesday up until the closing Mass on Sunday. So at least, 5 days, I'd say, for everyone.
And he arrived yesterday. I know today he'll
That's
be
right.
celebrating his first Mass then?
Actually, I'm not sure where he had Mass today. There's a welcoming ceremony. And you can see on some of the pictures, there was an opening Mass for the pilgrims in Lisbon, celebrated by the Cardinal Archbishop of Lisbon on Tuesday evening. The days get kind of mixed together as you're traveling.
Yep, Tuesday.
And so if you see those pictures or the welcoming ceremony for the Holy Fathers in the same place tonight, and it's like a version of Central Park, except a lot longer. And geographically, it's up on a hill that goes down to the water, the river that goes into the Atlantic. Lisbon's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
But it's like a perfect place for hundreds of thousands of people to gather. And so that's where the welcome ceremony will be tonight.
Okay. Yeah, the images are beautiful. There's like this sloping kind of hill.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are you looking forward to next?
So I'm hoping to be with our diocesan group at a catechetical session tomorrow. Then again, another custom of World Youth Day over these decades now is on Friday, the Holy Father leads the Stations of the Cross. So I think, again, that's going to be at the main spot in Lisbon where the ceremony is tonight, tomorrow, I think in the late afternoon. And then Saturday, we'll have Mass in the morning, I think, together as a group. I think I'll go to where our group is staying, celebrate Mass in the morning. And then at some point, late morning or midday, everyone will start walking out to, I think it's... it was a shipping container spot that's been cleared out. That's now a city park, I think, but outside I guess on the outskirts of the city of Lisbon, and that's where everybody's going to head on Saturday, sleep there Saturday night, and then the closing Mass on Sunday.
Oh, okay. So they sleep out in like an open space.
Yeah, with their sleeping bag or something.
Wow.
A makeshift sleeping bag if they're all. So
I'm guessing you're not going to be sleeping out this year.
Well,
but you have
I
before.
did my first 3, but I think they've made arrangements for the bishops to come back to the hotel and then head back there Sunday morning. So I'll have to make that sacrifice, I think.
And you've been.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And you've been hanging with some of the other bishops. I noticed you were in a photograph next to Bishop Robert Barron again. Did you get a chance to talk to him or other bishops?
Breakfast with him one morning, which was very nice.
Oh, wow.
And I guess it was Monday evening. Our group arrived from Fátima Monday afternoon. And then Monday evening, I only found out when I arrived, the United States ambassador, who's originally from New York and spent some time on Long Island, she hosted a reception for the bishops. And so there were about, I'd say, 15 or 20 of us that went to the embassy. And so Bishop Barron was in that group. And it's when we took a picture with the ambassador that just happened to be next to Bishop Barron. So that was great. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's on your Instagram. But go ahead. That's all I want to say.
So, yes, it's been also a good opportunity to get to know and spend some time with some of the other bishops. The Bishop of Honolulu, I think he said he's 73 or 74. He was ordained a priest in 1975, and he's very much young at heart and did a great job connecting with the pilgrims of Spain this morning. And so I was glad to be with them. And again, the catechetical sessions end with Mass right around 11:30 or noon, and it's a good way of getting the day started with. They usually start with some upbeat music and get the kids going, wake them up, and then some interaction and a little talk and catechesis and then Mass, and then they're kind of oftentimes free for the afternoon with an event in the evening. So I think they try to keep it pretty balanced because you can't keep the young people going at the pace that they've been at some of the days for 7 or 8 days in a row. So you kind of look for times where I think I heard that there's a pool and a gym at the hotel where our group is staying. So I think some of the young people are taking advantage of that to recharge their batteries, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Now, you had mentioned, so you did a catechetical session that was yesterday, and now you did another one today with this bishop from Honolulu. Okay, and what can you share with us for either session or both? What your message was, what your takeaway was from not only like from the folks who spoke before you, from the young adults or the youth who spoke before you, but then also what your message was for them.
So there's a theme for each day. I think connected to one of the Holy Father's encyclical letters. And so yesterday focused on the environment and the importance of us caring for the environment, as Pope Francis likes to call it, our common home. And he wrote the well-known document, Laudato Si, praise be to God and for the beauty of the earth, and all in the spirit of St. Francis, recognizing the presence of God and the beauty of creation. And so there's also a gospel passage for each day. And yesterday, the theme of the whole World Youth Day for this year is Mary went in haste, got up in haste to visit Elizabeth, as she did after the Annunciation. And so the gospel yesterday was how Mary went in haste to visit Elizabeth. And the question, kind of reflection for the young people was, how do we see in the message of the visitation, or the account of the visitation, a call to care for creation? And I got to say, I sat with a couple of these small groups, and they were struggling a little bit to come up with connections between the environment and the visitation. But as we gave it some time, and impressed by the young people, they, talked about maternity. Obviously, Mary and Elizabeth are both expectant mothers at that time, and so the responsibility of motherhood for a child also talks about our responsibility to care for the gift that God gives us in terms of the place we are to live. And so they talked about service and about a word Pope Francis likes, protagonists, that he wants them to be protagonists. And I shared with them that, as a teenager, I remember hearing the word environment, but I don't think it was nearly a topic that it is today. And, unfortunately, as we're seeing some of the weather this summer, there's, I think, more and more evidence that we need to do better in terms of caring for our environment. And I think it's also, they talked a little bit about Mary helping Elizabeth to care for the house, and while she was waiting to give birth, and how we have to kind of care for our home. We have responsibilities in our own homes with our families, but we have to take care of the home of our planet as well. So they did a great job, and it's also certainly a call for them to take a leadership role in their communities, be active and aware, kind of politically, in terms of some of the things that are happening and decisions that are being made, and the values that we hold. And so it was interesting too to hear from young people from other countries, and some of the things, some of the freedoms and opportunity I think we have to participate in electing our leaders here in the United States. We can maybe take that for granted, and when we realize that some don't necessarily have that opportunity. But again, just a really, really good spirit, a positive spirit. Today, the theme was about amistades sociales, our social relationships and friendships, and how we interact with one another as community and neighbors and friends. And the gospel was the wedding at Cana, and certainly was that interaction between Mary and the waiters and waitresses as they ran out of wine, and the families hosting the wedding, and our Blessed Mother, telling them, do whatever he tells you. So there was certainly plenty for reflection there, and the Bishop of Honolulu did a really good job in terms of encouraging the kids to get to know one another, and not only from their own country, but World Youth Day provides that opportunity to interact with. And there's a lot of waiting too. You get to a place early and security, and so as the bishop said, there's plenty of time to interact with each other. So that was I think a good encouragement from him to use that time wisely for the young people.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Sounds awesome. And there's a lot of dancing and music I see as well. All right.
Instruments and yes.
Well, good. I don't want to keep you too long. Is there anything else you want to share, or any message for us back in the Diocese of Paterson here?
Gratitude for all those who help the young people here. I know some of the young people are here on scholarships because others have donated so that they could be here, and others, did a lot of fundraising to get here. I met, there's a group from Holy Trinity and St. Anthony Parish in Passaic, and I think some from St. Anthony's Paterson as well, that kind of organize their own group. And Father Mike Lee is here with a group from his parish in Netcong. And so we have the official group, but then there's some other groups that are here as well. So, but again, for each of the young people here, whether it be from our diocese or from the United States or from whatever country in the world, they wouldn't be here without those who helped them to get here. So to have that sense of gratitude, and certainly I express that to those in our diocese who helped others to get here. And then to continue journeying together in the spirit of prayer. The pilgrimage is something that's been part of our faith tradition, and we certainly experience it here in another place, in another country, doing a lot of walking and making some sacrifices here and there, but mostly just a joyful spirit of prayer, and that we're walking together, whether it be here physically in Lisbon or spiritually united in prayer. And so please, to everyone who's praying with us, keep them up. And if you haven't done it yet, there's still a few days more to join us in that prayer. And I thank yourself, Jay, and Cecile, and some others who are, and our two deacons who are here with us, who are helping with sending photos and comments and other things, so that many I know are following us on social media, and I've gotten a number of messages about that. So it's great to be journeying together. And again, just ask everyone to keep us in your prayers.
Absolutely. And you reminded me, so the birthplace of St. Anthony of Padua is in Lisbon, and you had a fun comment on your Instagram that in Lisbon they refer to him as St. Anthony of Lisbon.
That's right. Yes, yes. And I read in the preparation for Fátima, I think when Pope St. John Paul came, I think it was him, one of the popes, when he came, said, he's not St. Anthony of Padua and the place went crazy. He said that here in Lisbon. But then he said, but he's also not St. Anthony of Lisbon. And they were all, and he said, he's St. Anthony of the world. So, because great. He's certainly a beloved saint all over the world. But here he's St. Anthony of Lisbon. They're very proud of him. And I sent a little note to Monsignor Hunt, the pastor of St. Vincent the Martyr in Madison, because I learned yesterday that from the stained glass windows in the cathedral that the first patron of the city of Lisbon is St. Vincent the Martyr. And so he and St. Anthony are co-patrons. And a lot of learning. We're always learning too, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's great. And that was when you visited the Cathedral of St. Mary Major.
That's right. Yeah, we did a walking tour. That's right. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for your time and for these updates. Gonna let you.
My pleasure. I hope the connection is good and that it comes through in the podcast. And thanks, Jay, for making it happen.
Of course. All right, Bishop. Have a great rest of the trip.
We'll be in touch. God bless. Thanks. Take care.
God bless. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for spending time with us. Join us again for the next episode of Beyond the Beacon. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening. Give us a positive rating, write a review, and if you're watching this episode on Bishop Kevin Sweeney's YouTube channel, be sure to like the episode, follow the channel, and ring the bell for notifications. Email questions and podcast topic ideas for the Bishop to beyond@patersondiocese.org. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Beacon.